shadows hide you. I am listening. Our paths converge.
So good to see you.
Hail to you! Never lose hope.
Here, Fred shouts.
I hear you. It has only begun. Fight on, Fred!
Welcome to episode 464 of Concede, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. It is Thursday, September 12th, 2024 in the evening. Coming to you from Nomergon, Ohio, it's me, Edelweiss. From Northrend, Massachusetts, we have Wicked Good.
Hi.
From Teldrassil, California, we have Megasa.
Hello.
And from all around the world, we have you, dear listeners. This week's episode is brought to you by our producers, Number Theory, Crash, Beef Squatch, David P., Walu, Jeremy T., Bottlecaps, Grumpy Monk, The Burger Club, Kirk Regan, Grizzly Bear, Tyler Knife, and SSJ5 Goku. And by our patrons of the week, Alejandro Benavides and Hidden Jester. You can go to patreon.com/coinconcede to get perks like a thank you at the top of the show, early access to new episodes, one-on-one coaching sessions, and help support the show in the process. If you would like to support the show but cannot do so monetarily, please consider leaving us a 5-star review on your podcast feed of choice, as it always helps other people find the show. So a quick note before we get started. We're doing not one but two listener series this expansion, and as the Miniset was a little bit earlier than we expected, we're getting our second series started a bit early as well. So briefly, they will be going sort of simultaneously. But the series this time is called Cash Cow Concede. Seems fitting. It gives coins, right?
That was the idea.
Yeah. As usual, the listener series is, great low-stress way to get into competitive Hearthstone. Best of 3 conquests instead of best of 5. 1 match per week, and you can flexibly schedule with your opponent. So we do about 4 to 5 weeks of Swiss rounds, followed by a top 8 playoff. Compete for Coin Concede glory. So signups are going to begin on Monday, September 16th, and then the series itself will begin on Monday, September 23rd. So you'll find the sign-up sheet by Monday on our website at coinconcede.com or in our Discord, discord.coinconcede.com, and it'll be the hashtag welcome and rolls channel. It'll be in there. If you're a bit late to sign up, just let us know in the listener series channel, and we should be able to help to add you. So, Life and Ladder. Looks like we have great things going on for Wicked and Megasa. Which of you would like to go first?
I think what Edel is referring to is that we have a section in the show notes for Life and Ladder, and mine just says I'm so tired, and Megasa's is just screaming. so I am very tired. I'm not out of the woods on the project that has been dominating all of my time, but we're getting there. It's I ended up working through Labor Day weekend. Not the whole time. Like I wasn't like in the office like the whole time. Like I was able to do that remote, but it was still like one of the days was pretty much like a full work day, and then the other 2 were calls every couple of hours and checking on things and getting text messages and stuff like that as updates, and then it's been longer days at the office because I need to be in for multiple check-ins, so it's been exhausting. It's good that it's not, things are not on fire, at least, which is good, because if it's like this when things are well, I can't imagine what it would be like if things were terrible. But I'm very tired, and I'm looking forward to getting some rest hopefully this weekend, but it's at least at a point where I'm not worried about getting either falling asleep in the middle of recording or getting called into a meeting in the middle of recording, which is what I was worried about last week. So
or just starting to send GIFs, which don't really work in an audio format.
Yeah. I was saying before the show, I've just started communicating with my team more in GIFs than words, which is fine in IM and less great for a podcast. So but it's good news is I'm hoping to be able to get back to streaming soon. I don't know if it's going to be next week or not. It's just a matter of me getting the energy back up, because streaming is kind of the first thing to fall off when I'm getting overwhelmed. And that's, I'm still kind of there, but it's been a little bit better. But I kind of needed some straightforward decks to play when I've been playing Hearthstone. I was doing the 10x grind again. I did get to Legend since, but I wasn't really doing all that well, and I wasn't playing a lot because I wasn't feeling like I was playing particularly well when I was playing, because I was overwhelmed. I did eventually like start feeling better, like late towards this past weekend and into this week. But the problem was that I had this event quest for playing Marin Treasures. So I'm like, well, if I'm going to play Marin Treasures, I guess I may as well play Druid. And I was at Diamond 5 and I lost a bunch, and then I started winning, and I just kept playing Druid for a while. I did have one game, and it was against a rogue, so I didn't feel bad, where I drew Reno off of the treasure that draws a card and fills your hand with copies of it. They left after the second one. Once they figured out how the rest of that game was going to go, they decided to nope out, which is I think that was fair. And again, it was a rogue, so I didn't feel bad. But that took me. I was doing most of that climbing. I think it must have been on Monday that I got myself up to like Diamond 1, and then the mini set came out, and I was trying to play more Druid, and then I started running into Big Spell Mage, and Megasa had posted in our chat like, oh yeah, looks like this Big Spell Mage is good, and I could not get it to work because I was very tired, and I played a couple of games. I couldn't get it to work, and then yesterday I picked it up again, and I said, if I couldn't get this to work yesterday, I probably shouldn't have driven myself home from the train station. So, because I just played 6 games and I won 5 of them and went up to Legend, and the one that I lost was a mirror. So now we're recording this on Thursday. That was Wednesday, so it was a little bit. People had not necessarily figured it out yet, either how to play it or how to play against it. So it was mostly, I was just kind of high rolling and smoking people. That was less the case when I was trying to play it at lunch today. But I think just a deck where I just needed to match the numbers and then high roll a tsunami seemed to be about my speed yesterday. And I guess a lot of people agree, because that's like 30% of Legend right now is that deck. But it was good to get me over the hump. This was definitely, like we've talked a couple times about, there being some Legend climbs where if you wait, like for people at our level, right? Like you just kind of, if you haven't gotten there by a certain point in the month, you kind of lie on your back and wait for the tide to take you across the pool. And that was definitely this. I was riding a tsunami across the pool over to the other side. So that was my month. But yeah, I also I could tell that I'm reverting into just like low brain energy games, because the other thing I've been playing a lot of is just Vampire Survivors. Like I somehow got myself back into Vampire Survivors because it's just there and it's easy, and it requires like zero brain thought aside from just like, which direction do I move the thing in? So I've played more Vampire Survivors probably than anything else than I've played in like months. But that's just kind of where my head is at right now, is I can run around and shoot things with knives if I don't have to aim or press a button. That's where I am. So
maybe I should finally pick that game up.
You should. I mean, okay, not now, right? Because you have a wedding to plan, and playing that game now might get in the way of that. So I would say save that for yourself as a wedding present.
Okay.
Well, how about you, Megasa?
Well, I definitely needed the time last week, so I appreciate it. I made a really smart decision. I mean, it wasn't really a decision that was made consciously, but it was a decision nonetheless to leave a lot of the work for my grad school classes, which had no intermediate deadlines and were completely self-paced, to the end of the time, which is, of course, exactly when fall classes are starting that I'm teaching, and when the wedding planning really gets urgent because everyone needs to know things so that they can do their part, right? We need to know the final totals of who's ordering what for food. We need to have the seating chart. We need to make sure that lodging is settled for everyone. We need to make sure that we've ordered everything that we want to order so that we know it's coming on time. We need to figure out what the food is going to be for things happening before the wedding, because most people are coming from out of town. So I did finish the classes before the last day, 2 days before the last day. So good enough. I did leave one assignment undone because I just couldn't do it anymore. And I was like, you know what? There's no way I don't get a good enough grade, even if I get a 0 on this assignment. Never mind. I did all of the ones in my assistive technology class because I found it really interesting. And the other one, there were some assignments that were interesting and some assignments that were just a lot. And so I left one undone and instead spent too long on the final. There was also very little guidance on how long these things should be. And anyone who has looked at the show notes should probably realize that that's bad for me because with no length guideline, I write a lot. So even when I try not to, if I really try not to, that usually takes me longer to write because I write it and then I cut it. So
I was gonna say, like, if they gave you like a 1,500 word limit, you're gonna write 2,500 words and then cut out 1,000. That's gonna take you longer than just keeping it to 50 words.
Yes, I did once. I had an English professor in college. We had to write reading responses for every class, and he was like, "Hey, these don't need to be so long." And I said, is it that they don't need to be so long or that they shouldn't be so long? Because if they shouldn't be so long, I can cut it down. But if you're trying to save me work, I promise you this is less work. There is a point at which it's like, oh, okay, I'm not supposed to give all the reasons. I'm just supposed to give the like topic sentences, basically. That is shorter. But if I'm going in between that, the neurodivergent brain also, like, what is this like enough information thing that you're telling me about?
You're just supposed to know. Come on.
Either you already know it or I'm going to give you all of it. So there's been a lot of that. There's been a lot of wedding stuff, but we did track down every single RSVP. Pretty much everybody is coming, which was surprising to me. So we actually have slightly more than we were supposed to, but luckily the venue is not mad at us for that. And probably someone will cancel in the next week. So then we'll be back down to the right number. But if not, it's okay. And it's nice to see people. In terms of Hearthstone, I have not played a ton because even when I had time, my brain was really not there. Like I would play Zarimi and be losing with Zarimi before the set came out. And I'm like, oh no.
I'm surprised your brain even needs to like function and be on to play Zarimi at this point. I thought it would just be like muscle memory and instinct.
I know, it shows it had gotten bad enough that it was impacting my muscle memory. So I did play on Tuesday when the patch launched. I saw people talking about Big Spell Mage, so I picked it up. I just went to HS Guru and picked a streamer deck from Rise Was Here. And shot straight up to Legend. And was like, oh yeah, okay, this seems good. There's like 3 ways. I like figured things out as I was going. It was like game 5, and I'm like, oh yeah, Surfalapod into watercolor artist. That seems good. That's yet another way to get the tsunami out super early. Like, that one's, turn 5 if you can do that turn 5 if you've got some coins to get the Surfalapod out early. There's several ways to get it out, like on turn 5 or turn 6, as probably anyone who's played ladder since the Miniset comes out is already aware. And then today, I decided I was not going to play Big Spell Mage, purely on principle. And I felt like my brain was working a little better, but it kind of wasn't. So I tried playing mostly Demon Hunter. I played... Jombre had a Spirit Peddler deck, so of course I had to try that. I did not make it work, but also after like every turn, I was going, oh, I can't count. Like Goku's spectating me, and I'm all embarrassed because I can't count for any of the turns. I'm like, oh, I thought that would kill that minion, but it didn't. And now I just like face tanked it for no reason, and it's going to hit me again anyway. That kind of thing. But basically, the idea with it was it's a shopper deck, but it also has Spirit Peddler. So you're kind of happy to draw either one, and then it has other big stuff too, like you have a Ziliax, the Perfect Twin, and it has. Let's see, what else does it have? It definitely looked like he wasn't done with the process of refining it yet. The last one that he had was actually trying out Factory Assembly Bot, which is the 10 mana 6/7 that summons another 6/7 at the end of the turn, and then it has a mini. If you discount that and then you play two of them in one turn, that's not bad, right? You play it and the mini in one turn. That's not bad. If you're waiting to play it, that's worse. It has Argus. It has Marin. If you hit the shopper, then the shopper and the thing you get off the shopper are both 0 mana. So that's pretty good. If you hit the other Spirit Peddler, sure, I get another 6/6 Rush Death Rattle.
Just roll again. It's fine.
Just roll again. It can be a little tricky to get the Spirit Peddler to die when you want it to. But if you do, then you have Return Policy. One of the games that I did, I got my Spirit Peddler out really early. I was pleased with myself, and then they did Thrall's Gift and hexed it. I was like, come on. That's so rude. I'm trying to do a thing here. It has Greedy Partner to get things out early. It has Miracle Salesman. So I don't think I won't put it in the show notes. Just go to Streamer Decks on HS Guru, find John Bray. It'll be more up to date to whatever he's doing by the time you hear this podcast than anything that I would link. And then I also tried some Pain DH, but I had to be hipster and try out like a kind of an attack buff version with a lot of self-damage. And then I thought, if I'm doing so much attack buffing, then I need some lifesteal if I'm doing this much damage to myself. So I searched lifesteal in the collection, and there's a 2-mana 2/3 called Eye of Shadow that is lifesteal to your hero. So I was like, God. I'm going to try this in casual. I tried it in casual. The part about it that felt good was actually the Nightshade Tease and the Sauna Regular. Because if you get like two of those out at once, that's really great. And I was getting it out on turn 4, turn 5 with other stuff next to it pretty regularly. But it was hard to get enough draw. I was having a hard time making it work. I could make it work in casual. I couldn't make it work when Goku took pity on me and said, you want to try in a friendly so you don't have to do this on ladder. I won one game against him when he was playing Hunter, and I got 2 Spirit Peddlers out on 4. Otherwise, that is the power play in the deck. Otherwise, didn't win. Anyway, that's been my adventure.
Yeah, I had thought that the Lifesteal Demon could be a way to offset your Pyroblast myself weapon, right?
It works pretty well with that. It doesn't offset the damage the stapler does to you, but because when you hit, because it's the stapler is
that's dumb.
Doing it to you, not you are doing it to yourself. But it did still help a lot, actually, in terms of, like, I don't know if it's too much of a dead card like earlier on, but if you're running like Spirit of the Team, you're running like Burning Heart anyway. The stapler is a good weapon. It does help heal you up because you often have at least 3 attack, 4, 5, 6 attack, depending on the turn. So, and it's not that expensive to weave in. So I think it might be worth a shot. I think I don't necessarily have the right shell for it. And I never actually ran into a big spell mage while doing it. I imagine you're not super thrilled to see a bunch of freezing elementals.
The big spell mages don't need to spend time in casual. They can just learn the deck on ladder and probably win most of the games anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. And I told Goku, can we stress test this against not big spell mage first? Thank you.
Well, as I mentioned last week, I'm just full on D&D mode. So I've been doing a bunch of prep for the adventure on Sunday. And then I went and got the new player's handbook in print today so that I can go to my in-person group and say, all right, do you guys want to play with this or with the 4th edition core rules I got? And apart from that, I went and visited my grandmother, spent a few days with her, with my daughter, so gave my wife a couple of days, no kid, to kind of relax. And mostly I just want to visit my grandmother as much as possible while I can. She's 94.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Wow.
yeah, I mean, still doing amazing, right? You know, cooked all our meals and everything. And we watched the debate together, so that was nice. But then I was like, oh yeah, there's a Miniset. Played a little bit on my iPad, and of course was not allowed to play Big Spell Mage because that's the thing. So, which is a bummer. It always is rough for me when like something I've been looking forward to or been working on and it's been okay, then gets a big push or influx of cards, right? And then now it's the popular, powerful thing, and I'm like, but I was playing this before. Why are all you guys here? Yeah, and then I switched.
Have you considered not being a hipster?
It's just not how.
You just get into races when you play the mirror. It's just like, all right, first person wins. So, cult neophytes, get the coins.
It's a combination of I don't like playing things that are popular and I despise mirror matches. So. Because like that sentence there does not make me feel better, right?
Right. No, I wasn't really expecting it to be honest.
So I instead went and made a big Beast Hunter deck with secret package with the, bounce a spell thing so that they try and play the elemental thing and gets bounced. And they're sad. Yeah.
Were they sad?
What's that?
Were they actually sad?
Yeah. I mean, in that particular case, it wasn't like I kept them from playing the first thing and then they were like, I'm done. But I did win a game where they played like half a dozen tsunamis. So because I just had enough Hollow Hounds. And then eventually I killed them with toy Ranosauruses. I mean,
as one does.
I've been wanting to try, like a slower hunter. I've been seeing there's like a Highlander hunter that's been making the rounds. Pizza got rank 1 with it. I
may have to try that, but I've been enjoying having duplicates, and I did try adding the cash cow, and I feel like it's one of those things where in certain instances it's great, and in the games where I want to get aggressive, it's not so good. But it does have the advantage of if you cube it, then you are summoning a taunt at the end of the turn, so the cube defends itself. And also the coins are extremely helpful to be able to play multiple things in a turn in terms of your big stuff when you aren't utilizing discounts. But Toy Radosaurus is really how you end the game. Hollow Hound is how you stay alive. So, it's fun, but I was losing on occasion to more controlling Reno decks, which was sort of frustrating. I was like, I built this to face the mages. Now I'm not facing the mages, probably because they all climbed. But
yeah,
funny how that works.
It's impressive that you were out. I think it is possible to outlast the mages because they only have so many, right, of their big spells, but they're so powerful that mostly what I've been seeing in terms of like their bad matchups and what people are doing to counter is going hyper aggressive. So if my brain was in a normal state, I'd probably be thrilled because I could just like go fast and be doing well. But
the key thing in terms of the other direction, right, is you have to be able to clear and heal.
Yeah.
Which is why Hollow Hound was so important. Like, you can't just have AoE board clears and get there because you're taking 10 or 12 damage every time you're clearing what they've done. Like it is both dealing face damage and summoning minions. So you want to be able to put in stuff to take the damage for you and also be able to clear and gain life. So the Big Beast Hunter was, I think, kind of well positioned for that. Would have been harder if I drew my Hollow Hounds without being able to get a bunch of copies. But they can play a lot of tsunamis with Conniving Con Man.
Yeah, Conniving Con Man is ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and the shill that lets you discount a non-rogue card for 2 is that should say from another class. That could just say from another class, and that would be okay. I'm pretty sure that would be fine. I mean, yeah, it's still going to discount the rogue cards, but the rogue cards are that and the weapon, and that's fine. And Con Man, I guess, but even then, it's whatever.
Of the ways to cheat out the tsunami, though, I feel like that's the least effective. I don't know.
It comes out earlier when you do that. It comes out on 4 rather than on 5, right? So,
I suppose the problem is when you use it for Skyla herself.
Yeah.
But I would say the problem there is not necessarily Seashell so much as either Skyla or just if you made the tsunamis back to 3, then they wouldn't be as backbreaking, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So that, because then it'd be all right, yeah, you can cheat it out, but you're not getting nearly as many.
Yeah. I guess the question is if it was 3, but if it was back at pre-nerf, right? But you could play a seashell and then you were getting coins and you could just coin it out.
That's fine.
So if you're coining it on 4, right? Because you're playing seashell on 3, you've played a greedy partner on 2, you're on coin, and then you coin tsunami on 4, but it's 3. Is that better? I don't know.
No. Right? Having an additional water elemental is an additional potentially 3 water elementals because it's every time that you play it, and you're playing Con Man to play them again. You're it's a lot. So I would have preferred if it stayed at 8 cost summon 3. I didn't understand when they made that change, and it was an 8 cost that I liked to have in Celestial Projection Orb. But
it is kind of weird, that they made that change knowing that this was coming a month later. It's a weird choice. I mean, because it feels like a card you didn't necessarily need to buff.
You've got an 8 now in Rogue, but no one's doing this. That's the destroy 2 enemy minions, right? That gets reduced for.
Oh, I saw that.
Cards you played from another class.
Yeah, because I saw somebody. There was somebody who I was playing against. I don't know if it was while I was playing the Druid or was on the first day of the mini set that was trying to jam together Playhouse Giants and Sonya Rogue into one deck. It didn't go well for them. I mean, it was the kind of thing where I think I was playing Druid and they started going off with the Sonya, and I just kind of went and watched a video on my other screen. I just okay, you do you. And then they got me down to 1 and they conceded. So it didn't go so well for them, but yeah, they did play that as part of that. But I mean, you would have to be playing Playhouse Giants, which most people are.
I mean, this is the 8 cost that reduces for cards played from another class and destroys things.
Oh,
right?
that one. Oh, I thought you meant the one from Not Everything Must Go.
Because
okay.
Mage doesn't have access to Everything Must Go.
Yeah,
it has access to the other. So yeah, technically you can have that in your Celestial Protection Orb, but
you're not even playing that many rogue cards, so you're playing a couple, but I mean, I guess you're playing 6, but
yeah. I wanted to try and figure out a Sif Mage now that you've got a weapon that gives you coins.
Well, maybe in a couple weeks.
Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, we should get into some news, and then we got a little bit of listener series stuff to talk about, and then our card superlatives.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop.
Yeah, so we got patch 30.4. That is the patch with the mini set. There were some other things along with that. Obviously, the main draw of the patch is the Traveling Agency mini set, which you very likely are aware of by now if you are listening to us. It is available. You can get it for $14.99 or 2,000 gold, or the golden version for $69.99 or 10,000 gold. Which in the golden version comes with a bonus diamond copy of Travel Master Dungar. We will talk more about the cards in Decksplanations now that we've seen all of them, and two of us have not gotten a chance to talk about any of them yet because we were out last week when the mini set was announced. But that is coming in a little bit later. The Mythic Ragnaros the Fire Lord skin is available. That is $60 or 6,000 runestones. I believe that comes with 3 shaman packs and 3 warrior packs, along with the mythic skin, and it is very fancy.
It is very fancy. I was worried that it was going to be intolerably distracting for me as a neurodivergent person. I've ran into it once so far. It was not too bad to face, and it's definitely exceedingly fancy. It is not something I personally really feel a big need to have, and certainly not for that price point, but I totally understand some people are really excited about it. So if that's you, awesome.
Yeah, it's like I spend a decent amount on cosmetics in this game, but like it's a little much.
It is a lot, yeah.
Like I mean, I guess you can't get a AAA video game for $60 anymore, but you could get a Switch game. You could get a first party Switch game for $60. And that's a lot for a cosmetic. But
yeah.
What are you going to do? But anyway, it's there for those who want it, and there are obviously some who do. So if Hearthstone's going to give them an opportunity to subsidize the game for the rest of us, then I'm not going to say no to that. So, we have a couple of Battlegrounds updates. They're normally we don't talk about them, but these are kind of small, but also important. They're not very many, but they're significant. Effects that cast Tavern spells have been updated, so now you cast those spells instead of the card casting the spells. So the ones they call out are Temporal Tampering, Untamed Sorcery, Mind Flayer Goggles, and Replica Cathedral. This change means that they now trigger effects based on when you cast a spell. So that is a big change if you're playing Battlegrounds, because sometimes whatever those effects are just got a little bit better. So, or if you're playing Naga and they have when you play a spell triggers, those will trigger more often. So be aware of that. And the Nether Pendant Greater Trinket now only applies to damage taken on your turn, not in combat. So that is Nether Pendant is minions in the tavern have +1/+1. Upgrades every 4 times your hero takes damage during your turn. So your turn no longer includes combat. So be aware of that as well. Arena, because they've moved to this new cadence where Arena's updating on all of the major patch releases. So there is a new Arena season. It is still dual class. The pool includes Core, Scholomance, Alterac Valley, Sunken City, Wisbank's Workshop, and Perils and Parodies. And there's going to be a new in-game event starting on September 24th. This one's going till October 15th. The Travel Master's Guide to Adventure. You are going to be able to get a card back, a Mudan card back, a Mudan cosmetic coin, the Orgrimmar Phelan Druid hero skin, and the Overcharged King Shaman hero skin. So these are all cosmetics this time, no packs, because they gave us plenty of packs for the current event. So now they're doing all cosmetics or constructed for the next one. There was a major update to the loaner decks, and this is coinciding with Hearthstone is reopening in China at the end of the month. So along with that, and apparently in China, they're going all out and giving them like a whole, like I think they're giving them like the entire last year sets for free or something like that. I think is what I.
Yeah, all of 2023.
Which I mean makes sense because they haven't had access to get any cards for the last 2 years, so it makes sense to bring them up to speed. But they also have brought in, they updated loaner decks, and those are available now. And those will include cards from all current standard sets, including Perils in Paradise, which is unusual for the loaner decks because they usually lag at least one set behind the current one. So Donkey has those up on his website, and the decks are Rainbow, Double Rainbow Death Knight, Pirate Demon Hunter. It's the Tempo Druid with the Nerf Doomkin, the 2 of 1. Handbuff Paladin. This is the Wave of Nostalgia Shaman, and then Highlander Warrior. So these are actual like current meta decks for the most part. I don't think any of them have any mini set cards in them, but these are decks you could pick up and just play on ladder right now. So if you know somebody who is trying to get back into the game, or somebody you want to introduce to the game, it's a great time to do that because they'll be able to get just a legitimate meta deck that is not at all behind. They're just going to be able to step right in. That's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to play here, and like these decks, maybe except Highlander Warrior, are still doing well now, even with the 30% big spell mage. Like if you go on to like the meta page on HS Guru, which I don't know which tab that's in anymore, but there are like the top list: Painlock, Pirate Demon Hunter, Big Shaman, Aggro Paladin, Pirate Shaman, Evolved Shaman. There's a Zoo Hunter that I need to try, and then Big Spell Mage, and then Handbuff Paladin, and so on. Rainbow Shaman.
And these all have like, you know, oh, sorry, go ahead.
And also, you know, I think these are decks that have shown some staying power, so meta will shift, but especially for a new player, they should still work well.
Yeah. And they all have multiple legendaries in them. Every one of them has Ziliacs in them, which one would expect, but I mean, you don't have to craft Ziliacs. And multiple other non-core legendaries, like the Shaman has Carefree Cookie and Golganeth and Patches the Pilot. The Druid has Dorian and Marin the Manager are both free, but you get Fi, you get Yogg, you get Eonar. So these are all very, you know, you get to try them out. You can claim them before the week is up if you find that you really like something. And these are all incredible deals. Like I'm looking at the dust totals, and the cheapest one, and again, the dust totals include the cards that you get in core and for free. So the dust totals may not exactly line up, but like the Pirate Demon Hunter is the cheapest one at 7,800, but like they range from, most of them average about like around 11,000 dust. The Highlander Warrior is like 17,600 dust.
There's a lot of legendaries in that one.
There are a lot of legendaries. So, I mean, Reno, Ziliax, Deep Miner Brand, Boom Boss, Ham the Hungry, Ignis, Grifta, Incendius. Yeah, so that's a lot of stuff. So if you know somebody, get them in now, at least like get them to try it and get a deck, and then they'll be good for a little bit. They've gone back and added gameplay achievements for the 5 expansions that didn't have achievements. So Rise of Shadows, Saviors of Uldum, Descent of Dragons, Ashes of Outland, and Skullman's Academy now have an achievement for each class and a neutral achievement. So if you are into achievement hunting, then go get some wild stuff done because you have work to do. They also, as they mentioned in the announcement around cosmetics a few weeks ago, the wild boards are now back in standard, so that rotation is just a little bit more varied. So if for those of you who are newer to the game, you'll get, and don't play wild, you'll get to experience some of the older boards, which are not necessarily, they've come a long way as they've evolved. Like they don't all have as much going on, but there's some nostalgia there, and there's some of them still have some pretty cool mechanics.
I've been having fun with that.
Yeah.
I have not noticed.
Well, I mean, you need to play more transfer students, and then you'll notice more, I guess. But, so there are also a number of bug fixes and game improvements. We're not going to go through all of them. There's a lot. You can read through them, but there are some significant ones. Adaptive Amalgam and Immortal Prelate will now return with functional Divine Shield or Stealth if it was granted to them and then consumed before they were destroyed. So like those cards have Divine Shield written on them. Well, those they don't have Divine Shield written on them, but those are the 2 cards that when they die, they get shuffled back into your deck with whatever enchantments they were given. So it used to be that I believe the only way you could get them to come back with Divine Shield is if you like hard removed it and didn't kill the shield in the process. And
That's
now,
right.
and now if they've used up the Divine Shield or they've had stealth and then like real stealth, not stealth for 1 turn, but like given like real stealth, and then they used it up, then they will be able to come back with that when they come back the next time. That's a big deal for those 2 cards.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's, I've been wanting to somehow do like an Amalgam Paladin with Boogie Down and stuff like that. I don't know that it's quite there, but this would certainly help to be able to like Divine Brew the Amalgam, and then it still has Divine Shield later. You don't have to do it again, Yeah. And if you can somehow land Stealth on a big Amalgam, I could see that at some point being a thing.
Like the bots, right? So
Yeah.
Anymore.
Well, not stealth anymore, but Divine Shield, right? So, yeah. So the original Zephyrus has been updated to account for locations. So I don't know what kinds of calculations Zephyrus is doing. Feel free to send a screenshot to Celestalon on Twitter, and I'm sure you'll find out. Bathan Bodybuilder. So that's the Murloc, the 4/7 Murloc that if your opponent summons a minion and on your turn, then it's silenced and destroyed. So its cap on sequential activations has been raised and now activates as minions are summoned when an effect summons several minions instead of having the effect summon all the minions first and then having Bodybuilder's effect trigger on all of them at once.
I'm going to be honest. I've totally lost you halfway through that.
Okay. So where this would happen, because I've been on the receiving end of this, is if you have a Bayfin and your opponent has a cookie. So what happens is that you kill one of their minions, it summons, and then it dies immediately, and then Cookie resummons the next one bigger. And it goes, it has a cap, I think it was 30. I don't know what they didn't say what they raised it to, but there was a cap on it because originally that would just go literally forever. And now they put a cap on it. So now what they're doing, so like if you had, say, a board wipe that somehow cleared everything but the cookie. So let's say that there's a cookie and a bunch of 1/1s and you did a Threads of Despair, right? Or something. Then what it would do is that all of those would summon and it would resummon each one of those individually. And before it would summon all of them and then it would increment the cap and then it would do it again and increment the cap. And now it's going to oh no, I'm getting it backwards. This is a very confusing thing. So that's what it would do. It would summon all the minions and then have a trigger on all of them at once. So now it's going to activate individually for each minion. So the cap is higher, but it's going to trigger more often if you're summoning multiple minions at once. It probably is rarely going to come up, but when it does come up, it's incredibly annoying, and it's good to know that it is eventually going to end because it doesn't seem like it's going to. So they fixed the bug where lifesteal minion with curse souvenir on it. That's the one that gives it +3/+3 and says this minion deals 3 damage to you at end of turn. So they fixed the bug where the lifesteal minion with curse souvenir effect on it wouldn't give life back when it dealt damage at the start of your turn. So it said this minion deals damage to you, but it was acting as though it was the enchantment that was dealing damage to you. So now if the minion has lifesteal, it's doing damage, it will heal you back up.
So it will negate the problem there, or make it, or vice versa. If you're trying to use it to get closer to your mountain giant, you are not closer to your mountain giant.
Yes, so be aware of that if you're playing that in Pain Lock, that will actually cancel and not actually damage you now if you're on a lifesteal minion. Fix the bug where forced attacks like No Muncher and Illidari Inquisitor wouldn't work after the minion was put to sleep by Sleepy Resident. That's a weird one, but that's good to know.
That was something that someone was pointing out in the Discord. I think it was Panacea that they were using for water elementals, because it's like a 4/3 taunt, death rattle, put all other minions to sleep. So when a water elemental hits it, the other elementals, the forced attacks will, it sounds like because of this, will still work, but then they'll be asleep. So
they're just sleepwalking. It's fine. So they fixed a bug where Narain Soothfancy's fortunes could change form in the middle of a battle cry that would play them.
Huh.
I guess it's like something that's going to summon something from your hand.
Yeah.
So you have something that would have been a minion, and then I don't know. That hurts my head even more than the Bayfin one, but that's something that if you play with Narain, I'm sure you've run into. And then we have the two most important bug fixes. One, they fixed a bug where Sandcastle wouldn't keep caricature artist's funny mustache while in location form. That's very important.
Very important.
And they fixed a bug where a minion sandwich generated by a golden rye cleaver wouldn't be golden. Now it looks more appetizing. So that's the patch. We also got a number of other shop updates, not just Ragnaros, that had happened in this patch. We also got 2 other skins. We got a new druid skin from a new character named Layara, who looks pretty cool. She's got like flaming claws and stuff. So it's about as close to Jaheira as we might get, I guess. But
yeah, I was like, this looks cool. And I was like, that's druid.
Oh, but it's druid. Yeah.
Unfortunate.
So that's 1,500 runestones or $15. It comes with 5 druid packs and a card back. There is also Steam Raider Nosdormu for Paladin. That's $10 or 1,000 runestones for a portrait and 5 Paladin packs. And then we have 3 that are coming back for gold. We have Mal'Ganis for Warlock. We have Kael'thas Sunstrider for Mage and Edwin the Renegade for Rogue. Those are all $7 USD or 1,000 gold. And finally, we got 3 new signature bundles. 2 of them from the current set, 1 of them from the past.
2 from the past.
Oh, 2 from the past. Sorry. So Hemifil Marksman is from the current set, or that's actually from Whizbang's Workshop, rather. So that's going to be just the signature, and then 5 Perils in Paradise packs for $40 or 4,000 runestones. And then we got that's Raza. That's original.
That's original Raza.
I read that as Raza the Unsealed. That's why I was confused. Okay.
Yep.
Raza the Chain, which is the original Raza. That's the
your hero power is 0. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. That's $40 or 4,000 runestones. That comes with the signature and then 10 golden wild packs. And just for Mad at Arms, signature Barnes. This is relatively cheap, all things considered. $25 or 2,500 runestones. They should be paying you to take a signature Barnes, I think, but that's beside the point. So that's the nerfed Barnes. That's 5 wild packs and Barnes for $25 or 2,500 runestones. Mad at Arms is no longer on Twitter, which Ben Hearthstone found out when he tried to tag him. But I made sure to let him know in multiple Discords, so don't you worry. Matt is aware that Barnes is there. And this is a Barnes that I believe will not be dustable, so that's going to have even less value for him. But so the other that's the kind of the happier news. The sadder news is that there was another round of layoffs at Microsoft, which was mostly focusing on Activision Blizzard. Another 650 people were laid off from the gaming team. It sounds like most of these folks were in more corporate and support roles as opposed to part of the game studios, but it doesn't make it better. Those are still 650 is still a large number of people who are going to have to be finding new work and thought that they were on solid ground after having survived the first round of layoffs. So it's, we thought that this was going to get better when Microsoft took over, or at least like maybe would stabilize, and maybe it will, but we're not there yet. So that's it's unfortunate, and our thoughts are going out to all those folks who are affected and hope that they're going to be able to find new employment as soon as possible. So I believe that's the news. So we will move on to tournaments and talk about the listener series.
It's the grand tournament!
So, from our all-you-can-beat buffet listener series, we had, week 5 was pre-Miniset, and Shaman, Death Knight, Paladin, and Druid were the most popular brings. With a little bit of other classes, there was some Zarimi, Priest, and Warlock. Still seeing some play in there, but finally it sort of hit the end of their popularity. In terms of results, our America's top 8. SSJ5 Goku, Pilot, Y the Hunter, Jolt C, Book, Longwater, Dr. Bomb D, and Proby1. I didn't say the numbers in people's name because they don't look intentional. So, and have a couple of highlights here. So in game of World 8 versus D. Finberg, World 8 was on Drum Druid, D. Finberg on a pre-mini set Big Spell Mage. Turn 6, World 8 and D. Finberg traded drum circles and tsunamis almost every turn until turn 10. And World 8 posts the replay in Discord with the Cho and Gal Battlegrounds emoji screaming, "I want to scam stats." No, I want to scam stats. No, I really want to scam stats. Ultimately, World 8 had just too much reload and taunt and claimed victory, though Diefenberg pointed out in the Discord that in retrospect, he had a better way to clear on 9, and that might well have won in the game. Still, maybe Drum Circle Druid is the answer to Big Spell Mage. You have big enough stuff, Tsunami can't hurt you.
And it has taunt.
I'm going to start invoking the Bolivian tree lizard sketch from The Simpsons if we keep this up, because...
So apparently, it's small sample size, but Treant Druid is favored into Big Spell Mage. I looked it up.
Did it get anything from the mini set?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. Let me see.
That doesn't stop Druid players.
Our other highlight. I'm more okay with non-ramping Druid. I'm totally fine with non-ramping Druids. But anyway, so another Druid game, of course. Ramp Druid Mirror in our highlights of Hidden Jester versus Glacier. At the end of turn 8, Hidden Jester had 14 mana and had stuck a Dorian for 2 full turns, while Glacier had 7 mana and no discounted stuff. And yet the game went on for 9 more turns. Glacier got a Yogg just in time to clear. Hidden Jester played 4 Marins. Glacier got Greybow off of Zarog's Crown. Extra frustrating because, you kill one and it goes on the other. And made a very sticky wall. Hidden Jester then played a Golden Kobold and got Magtheridon, Sylvanas, and Replicatorinator, which has great hits to copy in Druid. You've got all the mana to do it, so why not? Glacier held on until turn 17, but eventually lost as Mag cleared the Greybows, and the 4 Marins gave Hidden Jester just unbeatable value. It is a thing some people are doing now in Highlander Shaman, right? You've got Marin. So sometimes you Shudderwalk the Marin, and that's silly.
It is very silly when you get multiple. Yeah.
Similar to the 4 Marins. Yeah. But that's going to do it for tournaments. We will head on over to Decksplanations, where we've got our card superlatives, which are always weird for mini sets because there aren't a ton of cards to work with. So we did a little bit cheating this time, but I think it's warranted.
All right, so we have our superlatives. As usual, they are card you can't wait to play with, card you're scared of, card you want to be good but isn't, card you think is over or underrated, and card you don't understand. And if it exercise for the reader, which one of these did we all have the same pick? Probably not super hard. But we'll start with card you can't wait to play with. So I I had originally actually thought about putting the Rusher in Demon Hunter, but I decided I wanted to put Carnivorous Cubicle, 5 mana, 4/6, epic, Battlecry, destroy a friendly minion, summon a copy of it at the end of your turns. This is not necessarily in the types of decks that I generally most like to play, but it seems like there's gotta be wacky stuff in here. It was the thing that I might have put for card you're scared of, besides the card that kind of obviously had to go in card you're scared of. Right now it is bugged with Ziliax, but that will be fixed by the time you hear this. Like, it'll be fixed tomorrow. Where the bug was, if you Carnivorous Cubicle a Ziliax, it returns a base unmodded Ziliax with no modules that's a 0/0 that just immediately dies.
Oops.
So that's not very effective. You have your nice Unkiliax or half of your Perfect Twin or whatever. Carnivorous Cubicle is not going to be very helpful for you, but I love the idea of it protecting itself with Cash Cow, and it's just kind of a silly card. Also, the art is just silly. And of course, it's a callback to the Gelatinous Cube Lock card, which I never actually played that much with, because either that was when I was not playing the game, or it's when I was so off meta that I didn't see it that much. But I am aware of its fame.
Yeah, it was a heck of a card.
That's when I was playing Pint-Sized Potions to steal Carnivorous Cubes and make them die on my side of the board, because I was a terrible person. Of
course you were.
Oh god, you could still do that with Carnivorous Cubicle. You can steal it and then get... I guess if you steal it and then it returns at the end of the turn, I'm not sure what order that would execute in. But if you steal it for good, then you do get the friendly minions now on your side, I assume.
I would assume so. I guess, well, I'd have to do that in Wild, because there's no way to do fun stuff like that in Priest right now. So. Used to be, once upon a time, we could mind control things. And I guess you can with Zephyrus, but then anybody can do that, and that's not quite as special.
You can with the gift. It has a 9 mana mind control.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, we have a mind control.
Yeah,
it's 9 mana though.
Exactly. Yeah.
I have standards,
Well, funny you should mention Zephyrus, because my card I can't wait to play with, that I've done, this is kind of a misnamed one for mini sets, because often we have gotten to play with cards by the time we're doing these, because they just come out so quickly. But so I played a little bit with this. I want to play more with it after doing so. Dream Planner Zephyrus. Obviously, it is not as good as old Zephyrus, but there's no deck building restriction. So I don't know that I would say this is going to be like Gorgon Zormu levels of play, but it's really solid. And a lot of times in like a Highlander deck, you're just going to play it on 3 and pick something to impact the board, and then have a couple of clears in your back pocket, which is really nice. There's possibility you run it in something more aggressive for face damage. Druid, of course, can just pick value sometimes because they have the mana for that nonsense.
They can play both in the same turn. It's fine.
Yeah. But in general, I like the card. It feels nice and not crazy good. And there are times where you can vanish the board and get to play it again. So that was cool.
I had one played so it does not take the board into account. This is confirmed. I had one played against me today when I was a big spell mage. I was playing a version with Khadgar, and I'd had one turn with my orb weapon, and they immediately got the ooze and played it. And I'm like, really? How did you know? How did you know? Of course it didn't. It was just Murphy's Law. It said potential. Yeah. And then they had a perfect clear for my that combined with something else to get all of my water elementals the next turn. And I was like, really?
Which one is the ooze even in?
Affect the board.
Really? I thought that was all board clears. Huh.
So,
It
normally
does-
it would be
Effectively,
a
it does
low
affect
roll,
the
right?
board.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
often that would be like, oh man, this is useless. But sometimes it's exactly what you need. Potentially perfect.
And I also appreciate the art on Dream Planner's efforts, because that is exactly what I've looked like for the past 2 weeks, only with less facial hair. So, you know, I appreciate the representation in game. You know, it's nice.
All right. What did you pick, Wicked?
So I have not played with this yet because I'm waiting for there to be a control priest to play it in. But I picked Cash Cow because this looks amazing if I ever get to play control priest again. Because I can play. I mean, I'm going to play. If I'm playing control priest, I'm probably playing Chill and Vulgin in that anyway. So then I get access to the hunter cards, and Cash Cow is a fantastic control card. It's a 3/7 taunt for 5 that helps ramp into the larger cards that priest wants to play. I mean, that's really good. And I mean, if it's taking damage, there's not a lot that does 7 damage unless you're facing like an Unkiliax or something that has poison. So if it's there, it's probably getting you at least 2 coins. So then that means that you're able to play on the next turn. Let's say you're playing it on curve, then you're going into like your 8 mana turn, that's more than enough to play an Amenthul. Like, that's fine, right?
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to eventually at some point. I believe that there will be a control priest, and I will be able to play it in this, and I will be very, very happy.
So you can't wait to play it in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to play it in Hunter. I'm a gentleman, but you know.
People have been playing it in Hunter. Pizza is swearing it's broken in not broken but good in Highlander Hunter, which he got rank 1 legend in today, I believe. So, and it's just a really silly card. I love the art.
I love that it has the coins like flying off in the art. Yeah, I mean the workhorse is also a card that I just like the art and the flavor of. Like, I don't think it falls into any of these categories, but I do like the workhorse summoning the work ponies. That is delightful.
And that seems like that might fit in a Zoo Hunter. I actually almost put that for a card I think is underrated, although I don't think it's. I think I'm not the only person who thinks that, but there is token Zoo Hunter doing pretty well right now, and in some of the lists it does have the workhorse. So, but in terms of cards that we picked for the expansion release that we can't wait to play with, I picked Divine Brew in both Paladin and Mage. I kind of still can't wait to play with them in Paladin and Mage one day.
Just waiting on them to reduce Sea Shanty to 8 mana.
Then we can go. Let's do it. There is that sort of Pipsy Lanessa Paladin that I played a few games with, but yeah, hopefully at some point we can really get those going. Edel picked Incendius as a card you can't wait to play with. Hasn't totally come together very much. I got one. If you get it off of Zarig's crown in Druid, then that's great. Although it's still only 5 shuffled in, but they're buffed 3 times.
Right. As long as you play it the same turn as the crown.
As long as you play it the same turn as crown. But you're a Druid. You always have an extra 6 mana. Yeah. And Wicked, you picked Horizon's Edge for the expansion.
Well, and I've been playing that a fair amount in Death Knight because that's as close to a control deck as I've gotten lately. So, you know, it has worked out. It has been doing what I wanted it to do. So,
yep. All right. So all together on this next one?
Yes. Yeah, I think so.
So card that we're scared of. We were arguing over who should get this, and then Edel said, let's just all do it. All together. Portalmancer Skyla.
Yep.
There's only one correct answer for this. That's the only correct answer. And it's probably, I would be surprised if it stays this way or something else in the deck's going to change. But I mean, you know what this is. First of all, that is a terrifying smile. That is out of like the movie Smile. Right? So already we're not off to a good start. And whenever I see anything that lets more people play rogue cards, I'm already scared. But the fact that it's enabling Big Spell Mage as a whole by itself is pretty terrifying. And I mean, it's all over ladder. We don't really need to talk too much more about what it's doing. And it's easily the most popular card of the mini set, and it's probably the most impactful card of the mini set.
Yeah, it's like, it's not just the effect, right? It's the redundancy between now you have 2 legendaries you can draw to cheese out Tsunami quickly, right? You can hit King Tide or Portal Lancer Skyla. And it is the access to the rogue stuff, right? That gives you Con Man to replay the Tsunami. And that's like the real kick in the teeth, right? Is even if you have the clear for that first Tsunami and you're, recovering from taking 12 damage as something a little bit slower. Great, you cleared their board. Now they have board space to hit you again.
Yeah, the board space almost is the thing that can be a problem for the big spell mage. I do hope that I am actually glad that they are taking, it seems like they're taking their 2-week window to really think about what they want to do to hit this deck. The play rate is clearly a problem, and there can be a big high roll that's really frustrating, especially for certain types of decks. I don't know that there's, like, looking at deck win rates in a vacuum, things are fairly similar in a way. I think a bit of a bump to aggressive decks because they tend to do well into the mages, and there's so many mages. I don't know that there's like anything in particular that that the big spell mage is absolutely keeping down. Weapon decks obviously hate it.
I do.
But
yeah,
I do.
There weren't really weapon decks that were super meta beforehand. Obviously, we might want to allow them to exist. But
so, I mean, we might not. I mean, it is another kind of toxic playstyle, but the +2/+2 card in Rogue is legit. And this is actually kind of where my interactions with the mage began was, day of mini set. I'm on my iPad playing. I'm trying out this Rogue deck where your only minions are a pair of Swarthy Sword Shiners and Sonya, right? And you've got the draw minion. If it's pirate, get a coin. And the goal is just either dagger up or play quick pick on 2, Sword Shiner, and then all the buffs. Right? Because if you hit the +2/+2, it lasts long enough to kill them. And so it doesn't matter that you aren't getting a bunch of durability on it the way that the Burgle weapon does, because it's just getting so large so quickly that you just kill them. And then you've got things like Eviscerate and other stuff. Well, be ashamed to get tsunami'd.
Yeah. No, there are types of decks that this absolutely keeps out, and it does need to have its, like, if it doesn't naturally come down in play rate, something needs to happen. So I would be surprised if something doesn't happen, but I hope that it's not too much, because I think this is the main new deck, at least so far. Again, this is early to come out, and people do enjoy this deck. But it can get very scammy early. So yeah. I even though we're all so sick of tsunamis already, we never want to see them again. I hope they don't hit it too hard, and I'm glad they are taking the time to think about how they want to do the changes before they just do it.
It just stayed at 8 and 3, right? 8 mana, 3 water elementals. Like that feels surmountable, right? Like something that would be very powerful on turn 5, but still you can recover from. And even if it then gets played again. But it's the fact that like one more water elemental on each of these plays is 3 damage and a body.
Yeah. So have you considered that it is punishing people who are playing Spectral Cutlass, and that might be worth everything. Really.
No, because I'm one of those people.
You're not playing Spectral Cutlass. You're playing Quick Pick.
I was playing Spectral Cutlass before the mini set.
All right, then all of your huffing and puffing at Druid is at my playing Druid is null and void.
Look, I'm following the rules. I only have 10 mana.
You're following the rules. Okay. Yeah. You try playing cards from within your class for a little bit, and then we'll talk about following the rules.
Well, unless we have any more thoughts on
No, I think we've
Skyla.
said enough.
The cards we were scared of last time, Wicked said, "Oh, manager." Might still happen, but it turned out that the Lanessa Paladin we were all really scared of was not consistent enough.
Oh no, I said very clearly I wasn't concerned about it in Paladin. I was concerned that it was going to enable Wishing Well Rogue, which it has done enough for me to have been annoyed. And so I think I was still justified. Even if that deck is bad, it still scares me and it still irritates me. So that is still valid.
Well, Edel, I think you still agree with yourself. You said New Heights.
Yeah, I despise that card, and I don't think it should give them. I don't think it should ramp them as well as increase their max.
And I had said Dangerous Cliffside, also Concierge. So I think those were both strong cards. Obviously, Concierge actually got nerfed, and Cliffside. I don't think that's a deck that's a problem, but if they hit the perfect curve in the Pirate DH, that's pretty scary. I got killed on 4 once.
Yeah, it's still strong.
They had the absolute perfect curve. I couldn't clear anything, and they killed me on 4. Doesn't usually happen, though. All right, card you want to be good, but isn't. I said Job Shadower, which is the Priest, 3-mana, 4/3 undead battle cry. If your hero took damage this turn, summon a copy of this. I don't necessarily think I wouldn't be shocked if it saw some play somewhere at some point, but it definitely is awkward, and it doesn't really happen on curve unless maybe you're a demon hunter who got a quick pick on 2 sort of specifically, which is not, that's the thing that happens fairly often if you're a demon hunter that you have a quick pick on 2, but still, you're often not getting this on curve. If you get it on 4, demon hunter, that's not hard to do. It's still not bad, but it was just hard to fit into anything, and it definitely seems like it would be too awkward in Priest. Like, you'd basically have to have a Nightshade T in your hand to play this, and you have to do it on 4.
And it's still on 4, not 3, right? Like,
right.
That's...
Or if it's 3, it's with the coin. Yeah.
Right. So it's 4 mana to do it minimum. Like, when you have a weapon equipped, it's a lot. I mean, I guess you could equip the hunter weapon, right? And then have that available and then swing it on 3, the one that summons a 1-drop. Like, maybe that's a thing that you can do.
But that weapon is 3 as well.
Yeah, so you're still coining and spending an extra mana. Like, this is the problem I have, and I've got another card where I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, one of the issues that I have with the tourist mechanic that's kind of becoming a little bit more obvious with some of the mini set cards is just that, like, some of the cards feel like they're designed more for the class that's touring into it than for the class to use itself. And I think this is a really good example of that, where Priest can play an aggressive deck, and like, there's certainly a way you can do it. I mean, it's Magase's specialty, but at the same time, it's not really what Priest is going to do a lot. And this is clearly designed more to be things that Demon Hunter can take advantage of. But when that happens, especially if you're an enthusiast of a particular class, as I happen to be with Priest, it feels like you really didn't get as many cards this set, and another class got your cards, right? Which is, it's not 100% true, right? Like, you can make use of them, but like, I can't see where we want to put Job Shadower in Priest a lot of time. I can absolutely see it in Demon Hunter. That makes perfect sense. But that's just like less cards that we have to work with for Priest, when, the kind of Priest that a Priest main like me wants to play doesn't really have that many options to begin with. So
I wouldn't necessarily, it might see play in Demon Hunter. There's other competitions for those spots, but it's still a decent amount of stats if we're playing a really aggressive Demon Hunter. We're probably playing quick pick anyway, pretty much all the time. So, but I also, it wasn't in a lot of the lists that I was looking at. If you're going more pirate, it's not a pirate, right? So if it was a pirate, this would be a whole nother story for Demon Hunter, especially. But then, in Priest, like, even if you're playing an aggressive, you have to be playing a pain aggressive Priest to play it.
Yeah.
Which
very specific type of aggressive Priest when you're just playing Zarimi. So
Right. And you don't have Arana, which is part of the like huge payoff of that whole package.
Right.
You can't even play as a priest. So
Yeah.
Anyway, what did you pick, Edel, for a card you want to be good but isn't?
So I picked Soul Searching, which is a Demon Hunter card. I think like 2 mana, discover a copy of a card in your deck. Spend
Death
5
Knight,
core.
not Demon Hunter.
Sorry, I always
I do that too. Yeah.
Yeah, Death Knight. Spend 5 corpses to get a copy of it. But it's 2 unholy runes. So I feel like this could be a good card for slower Death Knight decks, but 2 unholy just isn't a thing right now. It's you've got some double frost and 1 unholy. You've got 1 unholy 2 blood that you could try, for controlling stuff. But 2 unholy and something just doesn't feel like it has a place right now. And the decks that I can think of that would be doing that wouldn't be slower. I don't know.
2 unholy is never slower, right? I mean, like 2 unholy and
Yeah.
3 unholy is always like go wide, fast aggression. It doesn't have time for something like this.
And I guess this isn't like inherently a slower card, but I generally think of the 2 mana get a single thing or maybe a copy of it as like slower because you're just going 1 for 1, right? Creation Protocol in Priest or Thrive in the Shadows, right? Like aggro decks do not generally run Thrive in the Shadows except when it's to pull Mancrick.
And like Bottomless Toy Chest is something you only really run in Concierge, which is a slower combo deck.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
is like, this is the closest to that, right? Because I mean, it's very similar to that where you're discovering and getting a copy of. I guess the Creation Protocol is also, but then you're really paying 4 mana for that.
Yeah, it's kind of Creation Protocol, except you're paying the corpses instead of the forge cost. But that still means
Right.
you can't play it right away. You have to have things
Yeah.
die.
Yeah.
And the thing I would most want to do with this is get an extra CNE. And you can't do that because it's double unholy, right? And I'm sure that's probably some amount of intentional that you can't get an extra CNE, but it would be a nice corpse spender and a way to find your big payoff. So it just all the possibilities that I would want to do, I am bummed out by it being double unholy.
Well, this seems like the kind of card they're going to knock a rune off of in like 3 months.
Maybe. Yeah.
All right. Well, Wicked, you'd already alluded to. Well, actually, you're picking that for a little bit later.
We're not there yet. We'll get there.
What is the card that you want to be good but isn't?
Well, I also picked a Death Knight card. I picked Eternal Layover, which is a 4 mana, 1 unholy rune spell that says give all minions reborn and then destroy all minions. Which I kind of get it, but also we've had Dead Air for a while, which costs half as much, and nobody plays it, and that only affects your undead. Now, granted, it doesn't hit your non-undead death rattles, right? So like if you're doing a death growl type of thing and you really want to hit that, then sure. Right. But like, and I guess if you're really being optimistic, then this is like a 4 mana equality, sort of. Like, because it sets the health of everything to 1 and then it helps the threads get through. You really, really want to be charitable, but it's like, do we want to trigger death rattles that badly? Right? Like, Death Growl, it seems like a better way that we're going to do that if that's what we're doing. If we're going to get that many death rattles on the board all at once. I just, 4 mana is so much for an effect like this because you need to set it up probably the same turn in order to get value out of it. So like if you're playing a death rattle and death growling and then doing this, like you already won. You don't need to do this, right?
Yeah, I'm not entirely down on it, but it does seem a little hard to pull off. It definitely, I think the implication is that you do with death rattle things. But I could see a world where, if some of those death rattles summon stuff with rush or whatever, right? Like that then you can use those to kill their stuff now that it's 1 health. So like situations where they have big things, it acts as an equality on their stuff while summoning new stuff for you. So even if you have like mining casualties, that'll give you a bunch of corpses and you'll get the ghouls to clear their stuff. It feels like there might be something there, but it is weird. And you have to specifically build for it. I almost wonder if like Warlock might do something with it since they have a way to discount their death rattles. But
yeah, I mean, a lot of Death Knight like already has a lot of stuff that already has Reborn, and if you give Reborn to something that already has Reborn, nothing happens. That's another thing just to keep in mind if you are going to try experimenting with this. It's like
less so in Warlock.
Yes, less so in Warlock. Yes,
I guess that kind of gets back to the point you were talking about, both for this card and for the one I mentioned, is Warlock doesn't really care so much about rune restrictions. So,
right.
Yeah, actually, soul searching in Warlock.
Yeah, that's just another. That's just another crescendo.
Fine.
Yeah.
Well, do they get enough corpses?
Oh yeah, I think they do. Right, because they play the 4-drop that summons all the 3/3s.
Yeah, I guess.
And they play like they spend the first couple turns playing. Sometimes they'll play out of Void Virtuoso. They'll play the 2/1 that draws a card when you summon it and when it dies. They play the 3/3 fatigue. I'm clearly too tired to remember any card names tonight, but you know what I'm talking about. Like, so they play a bunch of stuff early into the 4-drop, and then that's plenty for them to be able to find like another crescendo or another Popgar, right?
Oh god.
Or even just like future Warlock decks in general. There's lots of I feel like there's lots of ways you could have that. And I'm looking at the Warlock Taurus hasn't really seen play, but it is clearly supposed to go with Death Rattle stuff. Your Death Rattles trigger twice. After you play a Death Rattle minion, destroy it. So like, if we do get that at some point, that seems like it would be a more natural fit for Eternal Layover. It's still a lot of mana for that effect, potentially, because you have to have a bunch of stuff out already that you want to die. And
the problem with that deck is that the list is already so tight that there might just not be room to be able to fit this and the Tourist into it, right? So, the Soul Searching.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I feel like Soul Searching is likely to come up in Warlock at some point, but maybe not in Insanity. But it seems like it has a potential use if you're not worried about the rune restrictions. Obviously, you do still have to follow rune restrictions, but you won't have so many fewer perils, so many fewer Death Knight cards in there, you care much less.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so cards that we wanted to be good but weren't last time. I picked Surfalipod in Mage, but the big Spell Mage package may be underrated. I think I was right at the time.
You think?
I think I was right at the time that Surfalipod was not the way to go in Big Spell Mage on expansion release. But turns out if you have coins, so you can get it out earlier, so that you can curve into Under the Sea earlier, and your Tsunami summons an extra 3/6 with your watercolor artist, then yeah. There's been a lot of people playing Plagues like just for that interaction, which
doesn't seem worth it.
Doesn't seem worth it. It did happen. Someone did get to be happy because they did that to me, as I was not paying very much attention. I think I did think, well, there's a fail state here, but I was like, what? I've got 1 Frost Plague in my deck, and like haven't drawn any of my other spells. It's a 1 in 5. It's not going to happen. And it happened, and they emoted, and I'm like, okay, you can emote in this situation. Fair enough.
Yeah, just wait until people start playing the 4-drop that shuffles Snake Oils into the opponent's deck. That's when we know that we've hit the peak.
That card is too bad.
It's a death rattle. It's not even a battle cry.
Look, people played Eater of Secrets, right? There will be people who will try it. They will tank their rank down to the floor, but they will win once against a big spell mage, and it'll all be worth it.
While they're also playing Speaker Stomper and Razor Scale.
Yes.
Yeah. Just run the 2/4 where all top decks are temporary cards.
There you go. I think, I mean, that's probably the kind of reason why they put it in. Anyway, card you want to be good but isn't. Edel, you said line click last time. I would say that's accurate.
I don't even remember what that does, so I think
It's
that
a
works.
2/4 taunt for 3 mana that when you draw it, you get a copy of it and as tradable.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then card you want to be good but isn't wicked. You picked Arana Thrillseeker, which I think is finally seeing some play in
A little bit.
some sort of pirate aggressive demon hunters, but
People tried the fatigue deck like for a day, and then they stopped, and they were just going back to the pirates. And pirates seem to have been the better way to do that without needing Arana. And specifically, it was Arana as her effect, not Arana enabling you to get access to the priest cards, because that obviously you're playing it for that. But I think people were expecting Arana herself to do a lot more than she did.
mm-hmm. Honestly, I'm not terribly unhappy that we didn't get that fatigue deck.
No, I'm fine with it. I'm completely okay with that.
All right. Card that you think is over or underrated. So, Wicked, what do you think is overrated?
Way overrated. Like, so overrated. So, Envoy of Prosperity, and this is just for Priest. Again, this might be fine in Demon Hunter. But Envoy of Prosperity is a 2-mana 4/4 with Battlecry. Put the highest cost card in your hand on top of your deck. In Demon Hunter, this is Bibliomite, effectively.
A little bit worse than Bibliomite, because you don't get to choose.
Yeah. You don't get to choose, and it goes on top of your deck. So, like, the effect by itself, with no other support in the class, right, is strictly worse than Bibliomite, because Bibliomite was shuffling a card that you would choose. You would discover a card and throw it back into your deck. Whereas this is always taking the highest cost card, and it's putting immediately on top, which effectively means that you are losing your next draw. Because you could send something that you weren't going to be playing for a while and then draw something else the next turn with Bibliomite. This is actually saying, I'm giving up my next draw because whatever I'm putting on top of my deck, I'm probably not going to have the mana to play next turn. And in Demon Hunter, this isn't great, but it's probably fine because, again, you have Quick Pick, you have Paraglide, you have ways to burst draw and not miss that draw all that much. Priest has Crimson Clergy. End of list. and losing a draw when Priest is already so hard up for draw in general that it's Crimson Clergy and then like whatever like other like Thrive in the Shadows type things that we can scrounge up to try to like fake card draw, that I just cannot see playing this in an aggressive Priest because the cost is just so high. And there aren't, and the payoffs for something like this, like if you're looking at like I forget what Succubus turned into. Was it Fellhound in Warlock, like the 4/3 discard a card, which nobody played but played once in a while. Like we at least got discard synergies for that, which made it worth playing. And even then, you probably weren't playing that. You were playing the better discard cards, but still, it was an option. Here, like it's the 4/5 taunt that makes it cost 1. Which I'm forgetting the name of because I refuse to acknowledge its existence. But I mean, that's a 7 mana combo because you need to play them both in the same turn. Because anything that you're doing with the top of your deck needs to happen that turn, or else you're just going to draw it again. And then you've canceled out whatever benefit you're going to get. So you have to have drawn Envoy of Prosperity and the taunt, and then play them both in the same turn, and have something that you want to play 1 for that you couldn't pay 8 for. Like,
yeah, if it said third from the top or something,
sure,
you know, where
or
it's
into
like,
the top
okay.
5 even, or whatever, right? Like it's but putting it on top means that you have to have whatever you're going to take advantage of that with. You need to either be able to play it right away with an Arraign Fortune, or you need to be able to discount it right now with the 5 mana taunt, which means that we're paying 7 mana to discount a card by 7 or more, maybe 8 or 9, right?
Yeah. Third from the top would mean you could play it on 2 and then on 4 play the thing to reduce to 1, and it would be that card.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
you'd have to use the coin for that because the Twilight Medium is 5 mana, but you could
it's
potentially do that.
5 mana. Oh,
it's 5. You'd have to coin it, yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to.
Never mind.
Or play this off curve, right? Which,
yeah,
I don't do that. I don't do things off curve anymore. You know,
and Twilight Medium is so bad.
It's tough. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well,
I've said my piece.
Edel, what card did you pick as, in this case, underrated?
So I picked Spirit Peddler, which you did mention in some John Bray stuff, which I suppose I shouldn't be surprised. But I just feel like something that discounts 6 is asking for a combo. Right? Like, if there's ever an Il'gynoth again or something, like, since it's only minions, it basically means if there is a combo minion, you can set yourself up where it's like your minions in hand are this and what you want to discount, and you just swing it into something. Okay, now your combo is set up. It won't necessarily be that easy, but just I feel like being able to do that opens up a lot of potential possibilities, and that both makes me a little bit excited and a little spooked. I guess I see how something more just like value oriented, like what John Bray was doing, is going to be more consistent and pretty good. But even just like playing the death rattle thing, where you discover a death rattle minion that died this game and trigger its death rattle.
Yeah, return policy.
Like,
yeah.
You potentially get a 0 mana 6/6 rush
That seems good.
Like, if it hits itself instead of one of the other things in your hand, then you get a 0 mana 6/6 rush, and then you can discount another thing in your hand.
Yeah, the return policy suddenly makes a little bit more sense with the Spirit Peddler.
Well, and also with the reworked TCG thing, right?
Yes.
CCG.
Yeah. Yeah. I am excited to play with that. And in a way, people are like, well, it's a demon, so it interferes with Shopper, but like, you're not unhappy to get this instead of Shopper discounted.
Yeah.
And even in Shaman, right? Like the big Shaman, you could probably just play this also, right? And then, okay, well, now my Kolagarn is 2 or my Walking Mountain is 3.
That is a good point.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of that. Yeah. All right. Well, I picked Busybot as underrated. Busybot is Paladin, 2 mana, 3/2 mech, Battlecry. Give your 1 attack minions +1/+1. This, I think, it kind of goes with Vacation Planning, which was the 4 mana, restore 4 health, summon 3 Silverhand Recruits, draw 2 cards, which is a card that I think was higher rated by people, and probably is the better card of the two. But I think Busybot, there's just so many 1 attack minions in Paladin, and we just know that there's so often been good Flood Paladins, that this just seems like it's gotta have a place somewhere. We have ways to, we have Mining Casualties, we have Righteous Protector, just lots of 1 attack minions in Paladin, and it's the one downside here, I think, is that it has to still have one, like you can't have buffed it with something else and then this buffs it. So if you already buffed your minions some other way, or like you have 2 of these, the second one doesn't do anything. So that could be a potential problem, but overall, like +1/+1, the fact that it's also health makes them a lot stickier. They often have at least 2 health, so now they're 2 3s instead of 1 2s. That's a big deal. We know that in aggressive decks, just like Kyurgeon in Zarimi Priest, giving 1 health to things can be super backbreaking if it makes stuff harder to clear. So, and then this gives them attack too, so they can actually trade stuff off. So I think there's likely to be a role for this at some point. In terms of cards we thought were over or underrated at the beginning of the expansion, Wicked, you said Sandcastle way under. I would say definitely
I
was
was
a powerful
justified
card.
there. Yeah.
Yep.
Edel, you said Swarthy Sword Shiner under. Maybe if
We'll
we
see.
get rid of the tsunamis.
Yeah.
And the Coin Weapon overrated, which I would say was true until they buffed it.
Oh. I mean, they had to buff it, so
Yeah. And I had said Chillin' Vulgin as a card in its own right, not just as a tourist. And I think I was right on that. It is a good card by itself. I still am running it by itself in Zarimi when I've been playing that. All right. Lastly, card you don't understand. I chose Fine Print, which is a Warlock Shadow card, 4 mana, deal 4 damage to all minions, excess damage hits your hero. It just seems so risky. I mean, it's just like,
Yeah.
yes, we have Infernal. Yes, there's lots of pain synergy in Warlock, but like, I feel like there's so many situations where you just can't play it. So, yeah.
Like you really, really want to clear a board of 1/1s from Paladin, but you're just gonna die.
Uh-huh.
And you probably can't, like, unless it's pretty late game, you can't Infernal the same turn you do this.
I mean, you could have the weapon up, right? So if you have the weapon up, if you have the infernal
That's
harp
true.
up, then the world's your oyster, right? Because it's all gonna be the damage is all gonna hit you all at once. So it's only gonna take up 1 charge of the weapon. So but you have to have that weapon up if you're doing that, because there's just minions that have taken hits that are at 1 or 2 damage. Like there's a lot of those types of things that if you're and it's not fell, so pop guard doesn't help you, because like if this was fell, right, and pop guard was gonna give this life steal, fine, who cares, right? Then you cancel out. But it's shadow, so that doesn't work. So yeah, you have to have that weapon up with a charge in order to be able to play this most of the time.
Yeah, that's a good point. That does make it make more sense. But that's also the weapon is from Festival, so that's gonna rotate before this does.
That's future Gul'dan's problem.
There's lots of new cards.
There's going to be instances where there's a bunch of 3/3s, and it's like, well, I only take 1 per. That's not so bad. But yeah, it is one of those, like, is this situational? Is this okay? I don't know.
Yeah, there are certainly situations where it's good. But I say this as someone who hasn't played a lot of Painlock because it's a little bit too chicken for me in certain senses, as in like you're playing chicken with the opponent, which is kind of the fun part of the deck too. But yeah, this just seems like quite a lot.
Why are you
unless
playing
you have
this in Painlock? But this is like counterproductive in Painlock because you're wiping out your own minions.
This is not a Painlock card. I'm saying I am someone who tends to be wary of damaging my hero on purpose unless I'm trading with my hero's attack. So, all right. Edel, what did you choose as card you don't understand? I actually almost picked this one.
I did too.
Yeah, so honestly, there were a lot of candidates in this mini set, but card I don't understand is Huddle Up, because it's just not very good. Like, it is a board in a box, but I looked at all the Naga. They are not very large. Most of them. There's a couple that are okay hits, but there's a lot that like have battle cries, just are 1-drops or whatever, and so like you're getting a bunch of stuff, but why? And since I always want to run Orb in Big Spell Mage decks, because I mean, come on, it's right there. You can't put this in Galactic Projection Orb, because then you don't have board space for your Tsunami, or your Sunset Volley is like less of a big deal because at least you deal the damage, but Tsunami, you won't summon them and so they won't deal damage. And the way I like to try and set up Galactic Projection Orb is to have board clears at like the lower tiers, right? So if you maybe get it to cast Rising Waves and Star Power and Blizzard, right? So most or all of their stuff is cleared by the time you get to 7, where I have Firelands Portal to hit them in the face, and then Sunset Valley to hit them in the face, and Tsunami to hit them in the face. But Huddle Up is just so bad, right? Like
it turns all of that off, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it's for.
Like, you could play it in Druid, but I feel like you have better things to do with all of your ridiculous amounts of mana in Druid.
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking at the Naga list, and like fully half of them are like 2/3 or worse, and then like 3/4 of them are like a 2/4 or 3/3 or worse, and then you've got like your big hit is a 6/6 1 amalgam band that doesn't have any bonus effects on it. Yeah, So, and like none of these, but mostly, so the only one with like a death rattle is Snake Oil Seller.
Hey, we did it. That's how you turn off Big Spell Mage. We did it. You play Huddle Up and you get Snake Oil Sellers. We solved it, everybody.
And Adaptive Amalgam, I guess, which is, you probably don't want that shuffling into your deck. So yeah. I don't really understand either. All right. Well, Wicked, what did you pick as card that you don't understand?
All right. So mine is Trustfall, which I have to find.
Solid contender.
Yeah.
It's a
4-mana paladin card that says discover 2 minions that cost 5 or less. They gain each other's attack and health. It doesn't say summon them. It just says discover them. So you're paying 4 mana to get 2 random minions. Well, I mean, they're not random. They're paladin or neutral. And then put them in your hand, and they're buffed. And that's 4 mana.
And I want to clarify here. You are swapping their stats, or they are both getting buffed equal to each other's stats?
They're both getting buffed. So like if you've played like Vol'jin in Battlegrounds, then where it adds, it takes the way that Vol'jin works now in Battlegrounds is it adds the stats of one to the other. So if you have like a 2/2 and a 3/3, they're both 5/5.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll always have the same stats because they'll add up. It's now they both have both of their attacks and they both have both of their healths.
So they're going to be big, but they're also, you still have to play them.
Yeah.
So you've just paid 4 mana to just get 2 random minions that are bigger by some amount, and then you haven't done anything yet. So what are we doing with this? Right?
We're hitting Sandcastle every time. That's what we're doing with it.
Sure. Yes, in the Magical Christmas Land edition of Hearthstone, yes, that's what we're doing. I agree. In reality, I don't know why we want to do this. Would
it be too good if it just said paladin minions? I don't think it would.
No, I don't.
It'd be playable.
It might be better, but
like if it just says paladin minions, I mean, there's still a lot of hits, but at least you know you've got better odds of like hitting more excavates or more earthen summoning things. Just like being able to use it as an option of getting more of that stuff. It would still be 4 mana do nothing the turn you do it.
Like even Highlander Paladin is on the slow side, but this is like glacially slow.
I mean, you could get Toy Captain Taram would be a good hit, but yeah, there's also a lot of like neutrals that you could potentially be hitting with this.
I mean, you could get, but it's, so you're taking two, well, I guess you're discovering twice, right? But like, you could also just get like a Tidepool Hunter and an Adaptive Amalgam, right? Like it's, you're going to have some choice, but.
Right, they're not necessarily 5-drops here. That's, I'm looking at the best case scenarios.
You're not summoning them. You're putting them in your hand.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like, that's like some of the cards in this set just feel like they're very standalone and they would be cool if we had a reason to play them, but I don't understand what that reason is. And maybe that reason is coming in the next expansion, but I don't understand why we want some of these cards now. So
who gets access to Paladin?
Mage.
That's not going in Big Spell Mage. It's not going in Rayla either. That costs 4. So
no.
Mage isn't particularly interested in either of those. I mean, maybe you can get an extra Sif off of that. Like, good luck. But like, I don't know.
Yeah. There's the Mage's Magical Christmas Land. We got a Sif.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, last time the cards we didn't understand, I said Cruise Captain Laura. Edel said buttons and the spell school shaman package in general. Took a minute, but we got there.
Yeah, it needed some buffs, to be fair. So
yeah. And Wicked said announce darkness.
Still don't understand. Still don't know why it exists.
All right. Well, I think that will do it for our Decksplanations.
So we have many folks we'd like to thank. Check out our thanks section on the website at Concede.com, where you can just find our contact info, our show notes, and our Patreon information. You can monetarily support our show at patreon.com/Concede. Join us every live by following us on Twitch at twitch.concede.com. Join our community chats in our Discord at discord.concede.com, and write into our email at concede@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at Concede, and if you would like some CC swag, head on over to our shop at shop.concede.com. Coin Concedes.
I have a few. First, Coin Concede to Edelweiss and Don, aka Dragon Rider, for taking on the show last week. Really appreciate it. Coin Concede to Wicked for starting to get through to the other side of the Hell Project.
From your mouth to God's ears.
Fingers crossed. Coin Concede to everybody who is helping me with the wedding, especially my mom and my soon-to-be mother-in-law, who has been like the most chill mother-in-law in the world. Which I very much appreciate. And she's a great person in general. And my mom has been absolutely doing everything in the world that she could possibly be doing, and is like, still, tell me if you need help with this. So, we still need place cards for everybody. I can do it. And so I very much appreciate that, because I already have such a long list of things. And then there's lots of people who've been being helpful. So, yeah, I'm excited, and I will not be here next week because I will be up in the place where we're getting married. So,
Yep.
Yes.
This time next week.
Well, we will miss you, and hopefully my project does not swallow me whole between now and then, so at least I can be here. But I think there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I don't think it's an oncoming train, so I think we're doing okay. I'm also gonna Coin Concede to Adel, to you, and to Dawn for filling in, and Mikasa also to you for taking over the show notes, which is usually my area, at least getting it initially set up, but I could not form words at that point last week, and I appreciated not having to think about it, because I was not having thoughts at that point. So at least not coherent ones. So I appreciated the assist, and I'm looking forward to getting back.
Yeah, I'm going to Coin Concede to my grandmother, who, as I mentioned, she's 94. She's still incredibly spry, and, while I'm there, she cooks all the meals and cleans up after everything. So I feel bad, but she also is satisfied doing it, enjoys doing it. And I'm watching Leah the whole time, so it's not like I'm doing nothing. But yeah, she is a pretty incredible human, and kind of the one who raised me. So,
well, that's going to do it for us for this week. So until next time, keep calm and get back to work. And if you see us on ladder, Coin Concede.
Coin Concede.
Coin Concede.
All life must end. I yield for now. I concede. Well fought. I concede.
You win this one.
The victory is yours.
You have bested me.
I give up.
You win this one, friend. You win this time. I choose death.